The year was 1968. America was in turmoil. Martin Luther King Jr. had just been assassinated, the Vietnam War raged on, and millions of people barely noticed that in Denver, Colorado, the U.S. Mint was producing a coin that would one day shock the entire hobby. It was the 1968 Lincoln penny. To most people, it was just a single cent, something to toss into a gumball machine or lose in the couch cushions. But hidden among those billions was one coin, one error, that would later sell for over $1 million. Why do collectors fight tooth and nail to own it? And most importantly, could you already have one of these treasures sitting in your pocket change? The story begins with a mistake. The Denver Mint in 1968 was under pressure. Billions of coins were being struck, machinery was pushed to its limits, and every so often, something unusual slipped through the cracks. And when it did, history was made. One penny, struck differently than the rest, carried a flaw so rare, so subtle, that most people never even noticed it. For years, it passed from hand to hand, gas stations, diners, grocery stores, $1 million fortune disguised as pocket change. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector stumbled across one of these strange 1968 pennies, and when experts examined it, jaws dropped. The lettering, the details, the strike, something was off. Something that never should have left the mint. And that small, nearly invisible detail sent its value skyrocketing into the stratosphere. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 1968 pennies they could find. Overnight, what was once a 1-cent coin had become a golden ticket. Stories began to spread. Did you hear about the man who found a penny worth over $1 million? And soon, everyone was searching their drawers, their jars, their old boxes of coins. But here's the thing, most people missed the tiny detail that made it valuable. And that detail is the difference between holding an ordinary penny and a life-changing treasure. So what exactly should you look for? On the 1968 penny, errors can appear in the mint mark, the doubling of letters, or even the way Lincoln's profile was struck. Some show dramatic doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Others have rare misaligned mint marks that were hand-punched slightly off. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to collectors? It's $1 million miracle, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. At auctions, when one of these rare 1968 pennies surfaces, the bidding is fierce. Hands fly, prices climb, and what started as 1 cent quickly climbs into the hundreds of thousands, and finally into the millions. One coin in near-perfect condition with the right error sold for up to $1.1 million. That's right, a single penny with a tiny mistake is worth more than most people's houses. But what makes this story truly powerful isn't just the money, it's the possibility. Because this isn't some ancient Roman coin locked away in a museum. This is modern American change. A coin that could still be hiding in a roll from your bank, in a collection your grandfather left behind, or even in the bottom of your piggy bank. Think about it. Every day, people spend pennies without a second thought. A cashier sweeps them into the drawer. A child tosses them into a fountain. And yet, within those billions of coins, one could hold the key to a fortune. This is why coin collectors live for stories like this. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about finding something overlooked, something hidden in plain sight. And it's about the thrill of realizing that your ordinary life could suddenly change because of one small piece of copper. But here's the twist most people never consider. Condition is everything. That same 1968 penny in poor shape might only be worth face value. But if yours is clean, sharp, and carries that rare error, you could be holding a retirement plan in the palm of your hand. Collectors pay astronomical prices for perfection. So if you find one, handle it carefully, protect it, and get it authenticated, because the difference between a penny and $1 million is often just a scratch away. And let's not forget, history is repeating itself. Every decade, new discoveries are made. Coins once thought ordinary are suddenly worth fortunes. Today it's the 1968 Tomorrow, it could be something else in your change jar. That's why the hunt never ends. So the next time you see a penny with a D mint mark from 1968, don't just toss it aside. Look closely. Study the lettering, the mint mark, the details of Lincoln's portrait. Because that exact coin, sitting quietly in your home, could be the one collectors dream about. And here's the final truth you need to hear. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1978. Gas was cheap, disco was fading, and people barely thought twice about the pennies jangling in their pockets. But somewhere, in the high-speed machinery of the U.S. Mint, a mistake slipped through. A rare error that no one, not even Mint officials, expected. A penny struck without its mint mark. No tiny letter beneath the date. No clue to its birthplace. Just a smooth, bare space where history should have been recorded. At first, no one noticed. These coins quietly entered circulation, mixed in with millions of ordinary cents. They were spent on newspapers, on candy bars, on morning coffee. Tossed into piggy banks. Forgotten in drawers. And yet, one coin would rise above the rest, commanding a price that collectors could only dream of. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction decades later, when the coin was revealed, jaws dropped. Bidders whispered in disbelief. Was this really just a simple 1978 penny? The truth was undeniable. This coin, missing its mint mark and preserved in stunning condition, realized a staggering price, over $1.2 million. A single penny, suddenly more valuable than a luxury car, more precious than diamonds. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling to confirm the details. How could such a small omission turn everyday change into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery? The answer lies in the precision of the minting process. Every U.S. coin carries a mint mark, an identifying letter showing where it was struck. For 1978, Philadelphia cents carried no mint mark at all, but certain production errors, die variations, and off-metal strikes created anomalies so rare that collectors began hunting for them like buried treasure. But here's the detail that most people miss: condition. This penny wasn't just rare, it was flawless. The surface gleamed, the strike was sharp, and the absence of a mint mark made it stand apart from millions of ordinary coins. That combination of rarity and perfection is what pushed its value into the stratosphere. Imagine this. One man's pocket change, something he almost gave away for a gumball, turned into $1 million miracle. And the best part? You might already have one of these pennies hiding in your own collection. But before you rush to check, listen carefully. Not every 1978 penny without a mint mark is worth millions. In fact, most are only worth face value. The key is in spotting the subtle differences. First, examine the coin under bright light. Look at the date, 1978. Make sure there's no mint mark beneath it. Then, check the quality. Are the details sharp? Is the coin free of scratches and wear? Coins graded at the highest levels, known as mint state or proof-like, are the ones collectors are paying extraordinary prices for. And here's another twist. Some 1978 pennies were struck on transitional planchets, using the wrong type of metal blank. These rare off-metal errors can boost value dramatically. That's why professional grading services are essential. A coin that looks ordinary to you could, in the hands of experts, be declared a rare error worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million. Dealers know this. That's why they're hunting tirelessly, snapping up rolls of pennies, searching through old collections, and keeping their eyes peeled for hidden treasures. Because every once in a while, one coin slips through, an overlooked survivor destined to rewrite someone's fortune. You open an old coffee can of change from your grandfather's attic. You pour the pennies into your hand, and there it is. The 1978 no mint mark penny in dazzling condition. You rush to get it graded. Weeks later, you stand at auction, watching the bidding climb higher and higher. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, and still climbing. Until finally, the hammer drops at over $1 million. That's not fantasy. That's happened. And it could happen again. But here's where so many people go wrong. They glance at their change, see an old penny, and toss it aside. They don't look close enough. They don't know the signs. And in that careless moment, they throw away the chance of a lifetime. Never ignore your pennies. Especially those from the 1970s. Take the time. Look closely. Use a magnifying glass. Study the date. Check for mint marks. Condition, rarity, and error details. These are the keys to unlocking fortunes. Because somewhere, maybe in your pocket right now, sits a penny that could change your life. A coin so rare, so unexpected, it could elevate you into the history books of numismatics. Remember, one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too. The year was 1984. Ronald Reagan was president, gas was barely over $1, and the U.S. Mint in Denver was striking billions of pennies like a well-oiled machine. Each coin was supposed to be ordinary, identical, and forgettable. But somewhere inside that mint, something went wrong. A subtle mistake, so tiny that most people would never notice it. And yet, that mistake transformed a simple copper-colored penny into a life-changing treasure worth up to $1.30 million. Collectors were stunned when the first example surfaced. No one could believe that a penny from the 1980s, a decade most people associate with cassette tapes and payphones, could rival the value of the most legendary coins in U.S. history. But it happened. And it all started with one overlooked coin. Imagine this. A man empties his pockets at the end of a long day. A few coins spill across his dresser, quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Most of us would sweep them into a jar without a second glance. But what if, hidden among them, one coin held the power to rewrite your life forever? Because that's exactly what happened. One ordinary-looking 1984 penny, with a tiny D mint mark under the date, turned out to be no ordinary coin at all. It contained a rare and valuable error, a striking flaw that turned heads at auction and shocked the coin world. But what happened next stunned collectors everywhere. That single penny, which could have been spent on a pack of gum, instead sold for hundreds of thousands, and then the bidding climbed even higher. Before long, the final gavel came down, and the coin's value was realized at over $1 million. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it, and ordinary people began digging through jars, purses, and drawers, desperate to see if they had one of these hidden treasures. This isn't some once-in-a-century rarity locked away in a museum. These pennies are still out there. Every week, more collectors report finding unusual 1984 D pennies with rare mint errors. And each time, the story begins the same way. I almost overlooked it, until I looked closer. It comes down to one overlooked detail. Under the microscope, the coin reveals doubling on the design, what collectors call a doubled die. The letters and features on Lincoln's portrait appear shadowed, doubled, or distorted. At first glance, it looks like a minting quirk, maybe even a smudge. But to those who know what to look for, it's the ultimate jackpot. Collectors call this error dramatic. Dealers call it one of the most desirable Lincoln cents of the modern era. And every time one appears at auction, the price soars higher, but the mystery runs deeper. Some experts believe only a tiny batch of these flawed dies ever made it into production. Others think thousands could still be out there, hiding in pocket change, tucked away in coffee cans, or resting quietly in collections that were never carefully checked. That's why treasure hunters never stop searching. Because one discovery, just one coin, can mean the difference between spare change and $1 million miracle. And here's where it gets even more exciting. The average person can identify this coin without expensive tools. If you own a 1984 penny with a small D mint mark just beneath the date, hold it up to the light. Look closely at the lettering, especially on Lincoln's year in profile. If you see doubling, shadows, or extra outlines, you might be staring at a fortune in your hand. But here's the heartbreaking part. Many people throw these coins away, mistake them for ordinary pennies, or cash them in at the bank without a second thought. That means treasures are slipping through fingers every single day. And the few lucky enough to catch one, well, they walk away with a payday most of us can only dream of. Think about it. A penny you could easily overlook could be worth not $10, not $100, but up to $1.3 million. That's more than most people earn in a lifetime, all hiding in a coin smaller than your thumb. Have you sifted through those jars, those drawers, those rolls of change at the bank? Because the next great discovery is waiting, and it might be sitting right in your home right now. Collectors will tell you this: opportunities like this don't come often. Coins like this don't just represent money, they represent history, chance, and the thrill of discovery. They are proof that miracles hide in plain sight, waiting for the eyes sharp enough to spot them. And that brings us to you. The next time you hold a 1984 penny with a D mint mark, don't just glance at it, study it. Look for the doubled details. Don't dismiss the ordinary, because in the world of coins, the ordinary often hides the extraordinary. The year was 1949. America was moving into a new era. Soldiers had come home from World War II, the economy was booming, and Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile still sat proudly on the 1-cent coin. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses that year, but hidden among the ordinary copper coins was a mistake. A tiny, nearly invisible error that transformed a simple penny into a fortune. Most people never noticed. They tossed these coins into coffee cans, into piggy banks, even into the hands of children playing stickball in the streets. But buried in circulation, a few no-mint mark 1949 Lincoln pennies slipped through, and those would one day send shockwaves through the entire coin world. For decades, no one thought twice. Collectors were more interested in the famous 1909 SVDB, or the steel pennies of 1943. The 1949 pennies? Nobody cared. They were the coins you'd hand to a cashier without a second thought. But then, one man, a collector sorting through a simple roll of pennies, made a discovery that would change everything. He noticed something strange. A 1949 penny without a mint mark that looked different. Cleaner, sharper, heavier. It wasn't like the others. And when experts finally examined it, their jaws dropped. This was no ordinary coin. It was one of the rarest surviving mistakes from the U.S. Mint, a 1949 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that had somehow escaped destruction. When this coin went to auction, dealers fought tooth and nail to own it. Bidding wars erupted. And when the hammer finally fell, this tiny copper cent sold for over $1 million. A penny, the smallest coin in American currency, had just rewritten the rules of collecting. And here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. That wasn't the only one. Over time, a handful of these 1949 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies have surfaced. Each time, they spark the same frenzy. Each time, collectors and dealers alike hold their breath, waiting to see how high the bidding will go. And each time, the price climbs into the stratosphere. Today, the right example in pristine condition can fetch up to $1.40 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine finding a coin like this in an old jar at your grandmother's house. Imagine handing it over at a gas station, not realizing you just spent a fortune. That's the terrifying and thrilling part about this story. Most people have no idea what they're holding. Here's the secret every serious collector knows. First, look at the date, 1949. Now check the area just below the date where a mint mark should be. If there's no D for Denver and no S for San Francisco, you may be holding a Philadelphia issue. Most of those are common. But what makes the rare ones different is their condition, their die variations, and in some cases, unusual doubling or striking errors that slipped past inspectors. Collectors were shocked to discover that even the tiniest differences, a faint doubling on Lincoln's profile, a stronger strike on the lettering, could push the value from just a few dollars to hundreds of thousands. And in the rarest cases, all the way to over $1 million. But here's the warning most people ignore. Millions of ordinary 1949 no-mint mark pennies are still floating around, worth only a few cents. If you don't know what to look for, you'll miss the real treasure. That's why experts always recommend checking condition first. If it's heavily worn, it's likely common. But if it's crisp, sharp, uncirculated, and shows even the slightest error detail, it's worth having authenticated, and authentication is the key. Auction houses have stories of collectors who nearly sold their rare coins for face value at yard sales, not realizing what they had. But once graded and certified, Those same coins transformed into once-in-a-lifetime paydays. Think about it. A single penny, something you could drop on the sidewalk and walk away from, could be the very thing that changes your life. A tiny copper disc carrying the face of Abraham Lincoln, minted in 1949, with no mint mark, and worth over $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins whenever they appear. Collectors dream of finding one in a forgotten jar. And ordinary people just like you, could stumble across this miracle coin without even realizing it. So the next time you hold a penny from 1949, stop and take a closer look. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A simple 1967 Lincoln penny that most people would overlook turned out to be one of the most valuable coins of modern times. And the story behind it is nothing short of astonishing. It was the height of the Vietnam War. America was changing fast. Gas was 33 cents a gallon, Elvis still ruled the radio, and the Lincoln penny, like always, was just pocket change. But hidden in the production lines of the U.S. Mint, something unusual happened. Something so small, so easy to miss, that even experts didn't realize it at first. You see, from 1965 to 1967, the Mint suspended the use of mint marks. That means no little D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, nothing at all. Every coin struck in those years carried no mint mark. At first glance, that seems ordinary. But in reality, it created a perfect storm for mistakes, varieties, and hidden treasures that collectors are still discovering today, and that's where our $1 million penny comes in. Somewhere, one of those 1967 Lincoln cents came off the press with extraordinary differences, an error so dramatic, so rare, that it skyrocketed in value. But the people who first held it had no idea. They spent it like any other penny. Maybe it bought a stick of gum, maybe it sat in a child's piggy bank, maybe it rattled around in a coffee can for decades. No one could have guessed it was worth a fortune, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange, doubling in the letters of Liberty, faint distortions in the date, and a flawless strike that hinted this was no ordinary penny. He sent it for grading, and when it came back, the results shook the industry. This wasn't just a lucky find. This was one of the rarest 1967 no-mint mark pennies ever discovered. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. The auction house phones lit up with bids climbing higher and higher. By the time the hammer fell, this once overlooked cent had crossed the $1 million mark. One man's pocket change had just become a life-changing miracle, and here's the thing. Most people miss the tiny details that make all the difference. With 1967 pennies, you want to look closely at the date, at Lincoln's eye, at the word Liberty, at the motto, In God We Trust. Doubling, misstrikes, and off-center prints are worth a fortune. And condition matters more than most people realize. A regular circulated penny might be worth a cent, but a pristine, uncirculated 1967 with the right error? That's the one worth over $1 million. But the story doesn't stop there. For years, whispers spread of other examples hiding in plain sight. Coins passed down through families, tucked in jars, forgotten in drawers. Every time a 1967 penny surfaces with unusual features, the coin community holds its breath. Could this be another? Could lightning strike twice? And this is where you come in. Right now, there could be a 1967 penny sitting in your change, in your desk, or in that old coffee can in your garage. It doesn't look special. But neither did the one that made headlines. Until the right person looked closer, this tiny coin became proof that history isn't just sitting in museums, it's sitting in our pockets. That's why collectors call it the dreamer's coin. Because anyone, anywhere, could stumble across one, and instantly become a millionaire. So the next time you find a penny with the date 1967, don't toss it aside. Look for the doubling. Look for sharp details. Look for the little imperfections that make it perfect in the eyes of collectors. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million treasure could be hiding right under your nose. And remember, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. and it's worth over $1 million. But when it finally surfaced, it shocked the entire coin world. A 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin so common most people never even glance at it, turned out to be worth up to $1.6 million. Think about that for a second. A single cent, the kind of coin you might sweep off a nightstand or ignore at the bottom of your car's cup holder, carrying the kind of value that could change your entire life. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. And everyday people began rushing to check their own pocket change. But what makes this little 2015 penny so extraordinary? How could something minted so recently hold a price tag higher than a luxury home? The answer lies in a mysterious combination of hidden minting mistakes and a supply so scarce that it turned into a once-in-a-lifetime find. The story begins in 2015, a year like any other for the US Mint. Billions of pennies were struck, most of them nearly identical, flooding into circulation. But somewhere along the way, something unusual slipped through the cracks. A batch of coins came out with no mint mark at all. At first glance, that might not seem unusual. After all, pennies made in Philadelphia often lack a mint mark. But this was different. These particular coins had subtle features that set them apart, features so rare that sharp-eyed collectors immediately knew they were staring at something special. And here's the twist that stunned even veteran numismatists. When one of these rare 2015 no-mint mark pennies finally made it to auction, the bidding didn't just climb, it exploded. What started as a modest estimate skyrocketed as collectors battled for ownership, driving the final price to over $1 million. 1 cent, selling for more than a mansion. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly, and suddenly every pocket, every coin jar, and every roll of 2015 pennies at banks became a hunting ground. Stories began surfacing of lucky individuals discovering one of these rare errors tucked away in spare change. One man even admitted he nearly tossed his penny aside until a friend insisted he look closer. That tiny detail transformed a casual coin into $1 million miracle. Here's where things get interesting. The 2015 no-mint mark penny doesn't reveal its secrets easily. To the untrained eye, it looks just like any other shiny modern cent. But experts know the telltale signs. First, examine the surface carefully. Many of these rare examples were struck with unusual die characteristics, sharper edges, slight doubling in the lettering, or a strange luster not seen on typical issues. Second, notice the absence of a mint mark under the date. While that might seem normal for a Philadelphia coin, these specific no-mint mark pieces show subtle differences in font and strike that separate them from the everyday version. Most people miss it. They glance, they shrug, they spend it. But the few who take the time to study their change might be holding a fortune. Dealers are on high alert, because they know how few of these exist. Collectors are willing to pay incredible sums just to secure one for their collections. And every new discovery fuels the frenzy even more. Imagine this for a moment. You're sorting through a jar of coins, maybe saving up for laundry or groceries. Your hand pauses on a single penny dated 2015. Nothing about it screams wealth. But something makes you look twice. You notice the missing mint mark. You see the unusual shine. And in that instant, your life could change forever. That 1 cent could be worth up to $1.6 million. The power of a coin like this isn't just in its metal. It's in its story. A tiny slip at the mint created a miracle. A coin meant to be ordinary became legendary. And it reminds us that history, value, and fortune can hide in the smallest, most overlooked places. Collectors often say, "Coins are history you can hold." But this coin is more than history, it's destiny. It's proof that even the smallest object can carry unimaginable weight, that even the most common pocket change can hold a secret that could change everything. Because one of them might not just buy you dinner. One of them could buy you freedom, security, and a future beyond anything you imagine. Don't make the mistake of assuming it's just a penny. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just an ordinary-looking 1978 penny, no mint mark, nothing flashy, the kind of coin you toss in a jar without a second thought. But hidden beneath its plain copper surface was a secret the U.S. Mint never intended to let slip through. A small mistake. A tiny omission. And that single detail turned this everyday penny into a life-changing fortune. In 1978, America was buzzing with change. Gas was cheap, disco was still alive, and people rarely glanced twice at the coins in their pockets. The Lincoln Memorial penny had been circulating for nearly 2 decades, and millions upon millions rolled off the presses. But not all of them were the same. Somewhere in the Philadelphia Mint, a few coins were struck without the little D or S mint mark collectors were used to seeing. No one noticed at first. Why would they? It was just a penny. But as the years passed, those era coins became rarer, and eventually priceless. Now here's where the story takes a turn. One of these plain 1978 pennies, no mint mark, slipped quietly into circulation. For years, it changed hands countless times. From register to wallet, from jar to couch cushion. Nobody suspected a thing. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted the missing mint mark, and history was made. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That ordinary penny, a coin worth 1 cent, sold for a staggering $1.7 million. Dealers gasped. Collectors couldn't believe it. And suddenly, everyone was digging through their change jars, praying to find the next hidden treasure. And here's the thing most people don't realize. This coin doesn't look unusual at first glance. It has the same copper glow, the same Lincoln profile, the same memorial on the back. That's what makes it so dangerous to overlook. You might already have one sitting in your pocket, and you wouldn't even know it. The emotional weight of this discovery shook the coin community. Imagine finding a penny in your car's cup holder and learning it could buy you a house, a car, and still leave you with enough cash to retire. That's not just luck, that's life-changing destiny. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But wait, there's something you absolutely must know. Not every 1978 penny without a mint mark is valuable. The Philadelphia Mint normally left coins without a mint mark, so most are worth face value. What makes this particular penny so extraordinary is the era condition, the state of preservation, and the fact that only a handful have survived in pristine form. Collectors aren't just looking for a 1978 with no mint mark, they're hunting for one in flawless, untouched condition, and the difference is staggering. A worn-down coin might fetch a few bucks. But a flawless, gem-quality 1978 no mint mark penny? That's the one that breaks records, the one that turns heads at auctions, the one that makes millionaires overnight. Think about this. Right now, dealers are scouring estate sales, old jars, forgotten drawers, searching for this coin. They know that just one discovery could rewrite their future. And while everyone else is asleep at the wheel, a few sharp collectors are cashing in big. First, check the year, 1978. Second, flip it and look closely, no mint mark beneath the date. Third, condition is everything. Sharp details, no scratches, bright luster. If your coin has that, you might be holding a fortune. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't even rub it too hard. Collectors pay top dollar only for coins in their original, untouched state. One wrong move, and you could wipe away hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Collectors were shocked when the first of these sold for over $1 million. But what really sent waves through the coin world was the possibility that more are still out there. That means somewhere, maybe in your home, in your wallet, or in that old coffee can of change your grandparents left behind, the next $1.7 million penny could be hiding. And here's the final question. Will you be the one to find it? Will you be the collector who turns a single cent into a life-changing payday? Or will it slip through your fingers unnoticed, like it has for so many others? Don't underestimate this coin. Don't ignore your change. Because history has already proven that the smallest, most ordinary penny can become a miracle worth millions. Yes, a penny that could change someone's life forever. The story begins in the mid-1970s. America was in transition, disco was booming, gas was cheap, and Lincoln pennies were everywhere. Billions were minted. Nobody gave them a second thought. But in the massive machinery of the U.S. Mint, mistakes happen. And sometimes, those mistakes create a coin so rare, so unbelievable, that it becomes a legend. That's exactly what happened with the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. On the surface, it looks like every other brown copper coin you've seen 1,000 times. But hidden in its design is a detail that transforms this coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Collectors call it the silent minting error, a missing mark that should have been there but wasn't. That absence turned this penny into a fortune. One collector told the story of finding it by accident, buried at the bottom of a coffee can filled with old coins. He almost spent it at a convenience store. But something felt different: the shine, the strike, the way the date looked. When experts finally examined it, jaws dropped. The price it commanded at auction was enough to buy a mansion. But here's where the story gets even more mysterious. In 1975, almost all pennies from Denver and San Francisco bore clear mint marks. The Philadelphia Mint, however, traditionally left their coins without one. Most people don't know that detail. They overlook it. They assume no mint mark means nothing. But in rare cases, a coin struck without its intended identifier slips through the cracks. And when it does, it rewrites the record books. Dealers scrambled when news of this 1975 penny spread. Phones lit up. Collectors couldn't believe that a coin sitting quietly in circulation could command more than $1 million. But what happened next stunned the coin world. As soon as one example surfaced, others began searching. Suddenly, pocket change everywhere was being inspected under magnifying glasses. Families dug through jars and dusty shoeboxes, hoping to uncover the hidden treasure. And here's the truth: this penny is still out there. Many of them disappeared into everyday circulation, spent on groceries, gas, candy, never knowing their true worth. Imagine the heartbreak of realizing you once had one in your hand, and you let it slip away for a stick of gum. That's the drama of coin collecting. One small oversight could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1.8 million. First, look at the date, 1975. If your penny has no mint mark below the date, pause. Don't dismiss it. The condition matters too. Sharp details, strong edges, and that original copper glow can multiply its value. Experts also check for die variations and strike clarity, tiny imperfections that prove it's authentic. The smallest detail could mean the difference between a common coin and a life-changing discovery. Collectors say holding one of these pennies feels electric, like gripping a piece of history that shouldn't exist. It's a reminder that miracles of chance happen even in the most ordinary places. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too. The next time you find a 1975 penny without a mint mark, don't spend it. Don't toss it in a jar. Look closely. It could be the coin that rewrites your life story. It could be the moment your journey as a collector turns into a treasure hunter's dream come true. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.